Have you ever felt that your race is the hardest race to play? What about having a strong unit that's constantly being nerfed or reworked? Well, don't worry, Terran players. I hear ya. And this episode is for you.
You should be able to win that zoning war, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, here he comes in. Massive.
When looking over the history of Terran, it's clear that Blizzard had a tough time with balancing one unit in particular, the Raven. The strongest support unit in the Terran arsenal was also the unit that saw the most changes out of any other Terran unit. Which brought up the question, why doesn't Blizzard want Terran to have a powerful spellcaster?
All your base are belong to us.
The Raven has been a part of 17 patches that have drastically changed this unit. We've seen 4 upgrades completely removed from the game that have directly affected the Raven's ability.
He stamps in there. Oh, the point defense drone. He gets to charge up, immediately takes down the mothership core. What a brilliant...
We've also seen 3 spells removed and replaced with completely new abilities. This puts the Raven in a category of its own as the most changed unit since StarCraft 2 was released in 2010. Dustin Browder originally stated that the Raven is a Terran air unit that's featured in StarCraft 2. It's based on defensive spell casting that supports units via debuffing threats and constructing objects. This idea of the Raven makes sense as a defensive unit when we look at its first 3 spells that it started with back in Wings of Liberty: the auto turret, the point defense drone, and the Seekermissile. The auto turret ability drops down a turret for only 50 energy that could attack both air and ground units. At the time, it would last for 180 seconds, and players quickly started using this to throw on high ground as a way to harass their opponent and task their multitasking skills. The point defense drone was originally designed as a protective spell that would block projectiles, and it was utilized in every matchup. You could use it against Terran players to block incoming Viking shots. You could use it to negate Stalker attacks, and you could even use it against Zerg players to shut down Hydralisk play. The final starting ability that brought about the most innovative play from Terran players was the Seekermissile. The Seekermissile would launch itself at an enemy unit and deal 100 damage, not only to the unit that was hit, but in a splash radius around that unit. In the early days of Wings of Liberty, Terran was a very mobile army of Marines and Marauders stimming up ramps or dropping in mineral lines from medevacs. As maps grew in size, Terran players became more defensive and they would turtle up, which is the perfect combination, which allowed them to reach those higher tech units, such as the Raven. Once Terran players felt safe enough to access this powerful defensive unit, they began to see just how strong the Raven could be. It was 2012 when Blizzard devs began to take notice of the destructive potential that the players were using.
The ability to try new strats in that space is challenging, and I've seen players. I saw a game the other day with a bunch of Ravens and Seeker missiles against Zerg that I hadn't expected to see, that I was like, oh, well, there we go, that's something new.
All of the Raven's abilities did have that strong defensive capabilities, but it was those pro players that began to push things beyond that pure defensive style that Blizzard intended. And in 2013, In Control and Total Biscuit got to witness just how creative Terran players could be utilizing the Seekermissile in a match where Bomber faced off against Gosu User at MLG Dallas.
Oh, that was so
wow.
cool.
All right.
Oh my god, that was fantastic.
You are so good at this game.
What did I just watch?
Okay.
You're not supposed to shoot your own stuff.
Apparently.
Terran players continue to utilize the power of the Seekermissile, especially against Zerg armies. And in the hands of a talented player like Maru, we see just how devastating it can be. And in his match against Sue, we watch as Sue's supply plummets from 170 to 33 supply in an instant, just from the power of the Seekermissile.
Well, man, what a finish. finish.
What just happened right there? Absolute madness. Looks like these Ultras not gonna quite be able to clean everything up. Even the Vikings landing right now, and Sue looking sad.
Once Terran players truly understood how powerful the Raven was, it became clear that if they could reach the late game with enough Ravens, they would feel unstoppable in every matchup, especially in TVZ, where the Raven was by far the best way to deal with Broodlord and Fester.
Seeker missiles, I would assume. You kidding me?
In 2017, Blizzard saw the need to step in and rework the Raven and shift it from that primary spellcaster of the Terran army to a more supportive caster role. According to Blizzard, our goal here is to address the feedback that Ravens are only somewhat useful when made in small numbers, but they become oppressive if they are massed. Patch 4.0 is where we start to see Blizzard taking Terran's best spellcaster and warping it into this specialized unit. This redesign of the Raven began that shift from that versatile and powerful spellcaster into this very niche and situational unit that would eventually become a mainstay in the TVT matchup, but almost nowhere to be seen in any other matchups. In order to facilitate this shift, Blizzard decided to readjust all of the spells in which the Raven could use. The auto turret survived this turbulent period of adding and removing abilities, but was nerfed significantly compared to the early days. The auto turret went from remaining on the battlefield for 180 seconds during Wings of Liberty days to a pitiful 10 seconds now during Legacy of the Void. The point defense drone, which was a powerful defensive ability, was removed in favor of a new ability known as the repair drone. This ability initially focused on the Raven being able to repair nearby friendly mechanical units for about 12.6 life every second for 90 seconds. However, this new spell would not last, and in January of 2018 it was replaced by the Interference Matrix, which is a powerful ability only utilized in TVT and TVP matchups, because it would render one mechanical unit unable to attack or use its abilities for 11 seconds. With this huge rework on the Raven, Blizzard believes that they had solved their problem by bringing the Raven back to its roots as a defensive unit, especially with the final change to remove the Seekermissile and replacing it with the anti-armor missile. How wrong they were though, because this new anti-armor missile would turn into a Dorito Cannon. The Dorito Cannon, of course, aptly named for that orange color that units would turn after they were hit with this anti-armor missile. The ability would reduce the armor of every unit hit by the missile and the splash from the missile exploding by -3, which, as you might imagine, makes them very easy to kill. This would prove too powerful for Terran players found great success in destroying large armies. Blizzard was forced to step in, and within 4 patches, the anti-armor missile no longer was able to deal damage. With the removal of splash damage, Ravens became an endangered species in a TVZ matchup, with Terran players only utilizing the Raven to clear creep now, since they now had to prioritize splash damage from other units, like the Widowmine. The Raven started out as Terran's go-to spellcaster, and the Terran's go-to way to spend their gas bank. Over the years, with many reworks and attempted balancing, we've seen the Raven become an endangered species in any matchup other than TVT. While in TVZ, Ravens are used to destroy creep tumors, and in TVP, we'll see the Interference Matrix used to shut down Colossus, but that's it. Now, not all Terran players have given up on using the Raven in every matchup. Streamers like Ketrock and Florencio continue to utilize their multitasking skills to show off how powerful the Raven is in every matchup, even after so many patches. Most pro players, however, have had to shift, and they're now focusing on TVT to truly let the Raven shine, especially as that linchpin in the Sky Terran battle. Even in 2021, we get to see Morrow battle against both Hero Marine and Special in an epic TVT battles of both battlecruisers, Vikings, and Ravens. Seeing this shift in how the Raven was used makes me wonder, were there any past abilities that you wish the Raven still had, like Point Defense Drone or Seekermissile? Would adding these back into the game be able to help bring the Raven back from near extinction and all the other matchups? Leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys think.